Right, hello and welcome to the Panachecast. This is Panache Software's Legal Tech podcast, where we bring you all the news in the latest legal tech news and events. This is episode 17 now. We're rattling through them now. There's quite a few now. Yeah. And in this one, we're going to be covering the Financial Times article, which covers the 50 most innovative law firms. We're also going to talk about the Bath and Bristol, or Bristol and Bath LegalTech meetup that we went to the other week, and also a slightly older article, but something that I think is still relevant and we found quite interesting. It's an article about more universities providing sort of law tech, legal tech courses, but are they just a gimmick, basically? So we're going to have a talk about that. But before we get into that, I want to again welcome my co-host, as always, Neil Pemberton.
Hello, thank you for having me, and it's nice to be back again. We have got obviously a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and the first and most important of which, I suppose, is our attendance at the Legal Geek conference on Wednesday the 16th, I think it is. We're looking forward to that. Hopefully speak to several of you who will be watching, no doubt, at that event, and looking to do a special episode of the Panachecast while we're there.
Yeah, we want to try and catch up with people who were there, and you know, maybe do a couple of interviews with people and talk to some of the startups and things about what they're doing, what they brought to the event, and also if we can grab any of the speakers after they've spoken and stuff, just to go through what they've talked about and all that kind of stuff.
Some of them will have already heard from us. Some of them may not yet, because I haven't found your email address, but they will at some point.
Some of them have probably said, no, we definitely don't want to talk to those guys.
That's fine.
That's fine.
But if they don't talk to us, Pete, you know what they're missing out on, right?
Well,
so we've got a bit of news, which is
exactly
one of these wonderful, very limited edition Panache Software pins, with specifically designed with Legal Geek in mind. As you see, it's got the Legal Geek red on it.
Yeah, we've commissioned some. Our marketing department went mad at us again, going against corporate branding and the corporate colour scheme and things like that.
Yeah,
but we held our ground, and we've had some little pins made up, which are special for the Legal Geek conference in the Legal Geek red, and we're going to be handing these out. If you want one of these pins, just come and say hi and talk to us. We don't have to put you on camera for it.
No,
but come and say hi. It's I was going to say that I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say that, you know, if you want to keep this as a family heirloom, that the fact that they're very limited edition is probably going to make their cost fly up in price. I don't know if I can say that or not.
I think you probably could. It's a matter of demand and supply, isn't it? These are in very limited supply, and in several years' time, they'll be worth a fortune. Yeah,
who knows what happens in the future with these kind of things. But,
people will find them in the attic in generations to come, and they'll be on eBay, if eBay's still around, and for a lot of money, I'm sure.
Exactly, that's what we're hoping. But it's a case of just, you know, come up and say hi and stuff. We'd love to meet more people there and just have a chat with you and and give you some free pins.
Yeah, well, we'd love to interview people, and if they want to be on, that's great, but no pressure to do that. And we still give you a pin if you talk to us and you don't go on camera. I guess.
Even if you don't go on camera, you can still have a pin, assuming we haven't run out.
Yes, exactly.
It's limited edition. We've got a fairly big box of pins, so we might not run out all that quickly.
Yeah.
But
it's not an infinite supply, so therefore it is, by any measure, even if we had 1 million of them, they'd still be limited. But we don't have anything like that many, so it will be.
No, we couldn't stretch to that kind of budget. No. But they're really nice. They will look fantastic pinned on your shirts and things like that. So come and grab one and just say hi. That'd be great.
Indeed. Should we get on with the news? So, article 1, which you mentioned, is this article from the Financial Times. The author is Reena Sengupta, and we'll put a link, as we always do, in the notes as to so you can read the full article at your own leisure. But this is about the 50 most innovative law firms, and I've picked up this magazine in a couple of offices to law firms before. So I've seen it, and it's a lot of detail in there, actually. The actual list isn't... There is the list in the article itself, but if you get the full detailed brochure when the Financial Times publishes it, it's quite a lot of info there. Anyway, we'll read a few bits from it, and then we'll chat about some of the findings. So Law firms across Europe that want to be taken seriously by clients and prospective employees now accept that they need to become digital businesses. Indeed, many are on the way. What is surprising is the rate of change. For the first decade of the Financial Times published the innovative Lawyers Special Report for Europe, change in the legal profession was incremental. I suppose I should say there, this is only for Europe, so it's not covering American firms or anywhere else, frankly. But since 2016, it has become exponential. A good example of the rapid pace is this year's top-ranking firm, Freshfields. Now, they are also a Legal Geek sponsor, so we'll see them there.
Yeah.
Freshfields, I don't know how long they've been at number one for, but obviously they've done well. We should probably give them a quick salute to say well done to them. I don't suspect it's very easy, because actually I know a lot of the firms on this list, which we can read through, are putting a lot of effort into technology. So
yeah,
top
I mean, Freshfields always seem to come up.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, they're a sponsor of the Legal Geek Conference and stuff. We seem to see their name around those talks and things, the LegalTech talks, and in that area. So yeah, they're obviously again still high up on the list.
Indeed, and they seem to be taking, at least according to this article, a slightly different approach to what they're doing in terms of innovation. So they've had a serious focus on innovation since early 2017 with the establishment of a program that seconded associates on a 6-month stint to clients, where they were charged with coming up with better ways to deliver services. And I said to you earlier, there's nothing new at all in secondments. So they've taken an established practice, but what they are saying is, we want you to go away with this thought in mind about how we can work better. And a couple of things come out of that for me. One is that they aren't saying necessarily, let's look at the tech solutions first and then see how we can work with that and with the clients.
Yeah.
They're just looking at whether they can work better with the clients and then applying technology to it later, I guess, if it's relevant. It's a better way of looking at it, I think.
Yeah, and one of the key things that the ideas that I kind of like from this thing is we hear a lot of incubators and things like that and accelerators happening within law firms. There's people like Alan Overy with their Fuse incubators and things like that, where they're bringing technology people in-house and they're looking at how those solutions can be used in-house and things like that. I like the idea of this, where you're parceling up with people you're sending out into the industry, out to your clients who are in different disciplines than the law firms. From that point of view, I think you get a much better idea of your law firm's place within its market, basically. So rather than looking at solutions that are laser focused just on your firm, you're actually looking at, well, what do the clients need from us? How do the clients do their business with other sectors as well? There's a huge amount of technology out there that firms use for vast areas in their businesses. Legal is only one part of the business they deal with. So you can learn a lot by seeing how they implement technology solutions in other areas of their business. And I think that's a really important factor, that you're not just saying, okay, look at this purely from the legal point of view, but you're saying send these teams out, send these comments out to see how we can better interact with those clients and get those people to understand better how the clients work with others as well as the law firms.
Absolutely. It's just a slightly different focus, isn't it? I don't suppose that strategy really cost Freshfields anything. They would have presumably been under an obligation to send out secondees to their major clients anyway. So they just say to them, go and think about how we can apply this when we come back. Seems like such a simple and straightforward idea, but I doubt many people are doing it. It's probably just a case of educating your people to know what to look for, I guess. So let's have a quick look at some more of the detail of that. At the beginning, it was exciting and new. Bringing in the associates gave us optimism about the future, says Julian Long, the former managing partner and the program's initial sponsor at Freshfields. But the following year, although marvellous things were happening, we needed to implement the ideas, which was harder. And implementation is hard, as we know and as we've said.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to get out there and have a look at all these things and see all these interactions and say, right, these are the things we can do to better serve our client base, to better interact with our clients. But then to actually build something to do that, or buy in technology to do that, that's the really difficult thing, because then you come into the realms of, well, how does your law firm do business? What systems do you already have? How is it going to interact with those systems? all of the complications arise at that point. Ideas are easy.
Yep.
Actually doing the work is the difficult part.
Yeah, and from the in-house perspective as the lawyer, every month that goes by, there's still a billing target to be met. There's still chargeable hours to be delivered, or however you're measured. If the software integration or whatever it is that's being done as a result of the findings of that secondment takes more than a couple of months, which it will. It will take maybe a couple of years. Those people have moved on to a new part in their career. Now, a lot of firms will say, actually, we see a lot of advantage in you moving from a traditional fee-earning associate position into a more innovative position. And I think A&O is one of the firms that you said earlier that's done that kind of thing. I think the person that leads their Fuse program was a former lawyer, I think, and has shifted internally, and that's good, because had that person stayed, she'd have been under pressure to say, well, I'm either going to get a partner or I'm going to stay as senior associate or whatever. But you end up getting pulled in multiple different directions, which, if you're trying to push something like this, is never going to work. It requires focus and dedication. They introduced the idea of a product owner. That was an interesting idea. So I guess that's basically what we were just essentially saying. Someone who sticks with it.
Yeah, and they go on to elaborate that. And so, although this role is common in software companies, it's a relatively new for the legal profession.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is essentially, the role at Freshfields is for a technologist to work alongside the lawyer or the associate in an agile development team. One where they're more likely to have short cycles of development and cross-functional working. So agile development is a fairly common term now in software development. It's one of those terms and one of those principles that basically means you just get going and do stuff really quickly and keep iterating and making changes and things like that, rather than put one big requirements document, go for a year and develop that, come back after the year and say, here's what we've got, and then make your changes. You're basically saying, no, we'll check in every month or so, every couple of weeks or so, and just check on that kind of thing. So they're looking to do an agile development team on initiatives with their for the clients. So specifically coming back with this knowledge and saying, okay, let's fast prototype these things, let's fast build these solutions, and just get going on with them. And the benefit of that is, if you're doing these things quicker, then they fail quicker, which is often a benefit. If it's not going to work, you want to know that really soon.
Straight away.
So you don't invest a year developing something and then it doesn't actually have any traction. You want to get that done quickly and realise it's not going to work, as well as finding those that are going to work and then being able to scale up those ones.
Indeed.
So it's an interesting way of looking at it.
It is. It doesn't say, I don't think, it doesn't go into detail about whether they are bringing in the technological expertise from outside or delivering it internally. I'm not quite sure, and whether they're taking the approach of the incubation type program either. I still have sort of slight discomfort at that. I was thinking about it on the way over, that ultimately these guys, everyone in this list, is still in the business of legal services. They're not technology companies. But I like the idea of trying to use it, but I shudder when I see these people spending millions of pounds on software development, and that isn't their primary business. Yeah,
and there was a little bit in here that I haven't cut out, because they were talking about the fact that these technologists or the fee earners are effectively not just lawyers anymore. There's other people doing that aspect, and there's always that sense. You've got a situation here where you're joining together a lawyer and a technology person there. Is that an in-house technology person? Is it someone you're bringing in? How are they funded and stuff like that? If they're not actually generating fee earning capability. Although at the outset that looks an interesting thing. As soon as any purse strings have to tighten or whatever, they'll be the first to go. So I think it's something that's definitely needed. But I think it's also something that will potentially be more difficult for firms to implement. The larger firms probably can do this kind of thing because they have the resources available to do that. For any of the medium-sized or smaller firms, that's probably not going to be an option for you.
No, no, indeed. Well, should we give the others their due by reading the list? This is only the top 10, because if we read the top 50, that'll take up the rest of the show. But
yeah,
we'll just whiz through the top 10. So number 1, Freshfields. Number 2, Hogan Levels. 3, Allen and Overy. 4, Pinsent Masons. 5, White and Case. 6, there's no question I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, Kuta Cracasas.
Nailed it.
I've never heard of them before, but they're Spanish by the looks of things.
Spanish firm and stuff, yeah. So.
Yeah. Anyway, 7, Latham and Watkins. 8, DWF. 9, DLA Piper. And 10, Norta Dutil, who are Dutch, I think. I've definitely heard of them before, but only having worked opposite them on another deal. But so I don't think any major surprises. Maybe we might say there are a couple of firms that we perhaps would have expected to feature in there that aren't.
Some of the bigger firms that I thought would have appeared higher up the list that do promote their technology side of things aren't that high in the list, which was a bit surprising. But
do you think there's an element of Google ranking in here in that you could pay to be in the top 3?
Well, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? It's
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
We did mention DWF in one of our early first, maybe even the first show, because they raised funds by floating, didn't they?
Yes, they were the ones who
they listed on the FTSE or something.
Yeah,
like that.
they were one of the first firms to
80 million.
Yeah, as a key to expansion and this kind of thing.
Although having done that earlier in the year and then featuring at number 8, maybe they were already there, because I think they had quite a lot of technological stuff, strings to their bow, but
especially people like Allen Overy appearing in there. We know that they've used their incubators and things like that. So been
there for a while.
So it's good to see. But so we've linked to the article on there, and go and have a look at those firms.
And I guess if you're in that list and you're not higher up and you're not where you think you should be, then I think the criteria is within the full list. You can go and see for what it's worth if you want to improve your rankings, because I know that's important to a lot of firms. And Financial Times is a reasonable list, I would have thought.
I would have thought so.
Reasonable.
They're fairly well known, so
people have heard of that.
Yeah,
they rank right up there with the Panachecast, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we do our definitive list of the 15 most innovative law firms, that will probably get higher ranking. But
I would think
we're still working on that.
We could do it.
We'll have a go at that later in the year. Maybe it's a Christmas special.
Precisely.
We'll do that. But we're going to our second item. Second item's quite a nice little thing that's a bit closer to home for us. We went to the Bristol and Bath LegalTech meetup a couple of weeks ago now, and it's nice to see an event that, for us anyway, we're based in the Bristol and Bath area and stuff. To see something like this happening outside of London. Most of the events that we cover later on in the show and things like that, they're normally always in London. And it was nice to have this something outside of there, and something that looks like it's pretty well supported. There are a lot of people there. If I just give you just a brief about it, it was founded by a team of enthusiasts from UWE, Bristol Law Society, and a cluster of the region's leading law firms and consultancies. They're strongly supported by the West of England Combined Authority. They aim to grow their base of collaborators incrementally, initially through a series of meetups to build consensus and develop the themes of the Bristol and Bath Legal Tech needs to pursue. So I've got their web pages that we'll link to on there, and also their Twitter as well is at Brisbath LegalTech. So cut everything off there. Their next meetup is during the Bristol Technology Festival, which is happening November the 2nd. I think it's Sunday, November the 2nd to the 10th of November. You can go and have a look at that at bristoltechfest.org, and it's at tech_Bristol on Twitter. That's where they're doing I think they're doing some events throughout the time, but go to their Twitter just to find out initially about what they're meeting. But it was a really nice event. It was just a little evening meetup, but a good spread of people from all different areas.
Yes, there. It was. Well, it was good, especially as it seemed to be fairly well attended for only the second one. And I mean, it was funny because I'd mentioned to you before we heard anything about the Bristol and Bath LegalTech event, I'd said to you, perhaps we should be doing our own meetups because I don't want to go to London every single time we want to see anyone.
Yeah.
And no sooner had I mentioned it to you than this thing came out about it. And I thought, this is great timing because now we don't have to organise it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, save us some work.
Save us a lot of work. So I think number one, the first one was at the offices of Simmons & Simmons. Number two was at the offices of Womble Bond Dickinson. So I suspect that 3, 4, and 5 will be at various other law firms' offices, and they might be calling in on some favours because these things, obviously, they all cost money to get off the ground, and so hopefully we can encourage, for what it's worth, all the other firms to pitch in and offer up their conference rooms. Because it's a chance for people to get to come in and see your offices too, which is nice. And the managing partner of the Bristol office of Womble Bond Dickinson gave a 5-minute chat, didn't he?
Chat and talk, yeah.
So it's a chance for you guys to spread your word as well. But yeah, it was attended. I think the first session they said was attended mostly by lawyers, which is not that surprising. But so they wanted more technology people at the second one. So what will probably happen at the third one is there'll be no lawyers and just only tech people. But the balance will get right. So you had a green sticker because you were a techie, and I didn't. I felt slightly put out by that. So I'd like a red sticker or something to say, ignoramus.
You always want some sort of sticker or a gold star or something for you. It's
But it's great. I mean, I have to give a shout out to Dagmar who organised it because back in 2006, I think, Dagmar was my lecturer on the LPC for corporate and mergers and acquisitions. I can't remember what it was actually called now, but it was corporate law.
Whatever you did,
whatever it was. And she's been at UWE for a long time doing that. And actually, I think before that, she was at Osborne Clarke and even, I want to say Freshfields before then. But this is probably a long time before they featured number one on the
maybe
Times
she got
list.
them there and then
maybe she did. Yeah, maybe she did.
We don't know.
No, but we had a mixture, didn't we? Of tech people, lawyers, some investors, people who were just generally interested in it, and there was an opportunity for people to get up and speak. And you did a very good minute segment on us.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. I mean, the first session they had a talk from about 5. I think 5 people got up to and each had sort of a 5-minute slot, and I think they're doing something similar at Legal Geek as well, where they're at the conference where they're doing shorter talking things to keep it going and mix it up. I'm not sure that works in all situations. Some of the discussion, I think it does when you're talking about when you've got someone from a company talking about what they're doing and things like
definitely.
that. What their product is, what their service is, and why you should look at it. I think it works quite well. There was a lady who spoke to do a little bit of talking on machine learning, and I forgot her name now, but you can find that out. She talked a little bit about AI and machine learning, and I thought in that instance, she probably just needed a bit more time.
Yeah, it's a big topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big topic, and although you can cut it down to some bullet point things, those bullet points on their own don't necessarily make a huge amount of sense when you take away a lot of the context. So I think for certain talks, it works perfectly well and keeps it going, keeps it snappy, and makes the person giving the talk really focus in on what they want to say.
Indeed.
Rather than rambling about stuff, like on a podcast where we just go on and on and on and you for an hour or so, we know we can get that down. But yeah, some things I think need just a little bit more extra time talking about it. So
I agree.
But other than that, it was a great evening, and just getting to talk to a lot of people, lawyers there, other people, technology, investment people, everything like that. There was such a good mix of people there that I think is really worthwhile. So if you're in the Bristol and Bath area, it's only a short hop on the train from London. If you want to come here instead of from London, that'd be even better.
Yeah. Against the flow of the traffic, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
For evening event, maybe not, but still,
no.
It is an easy journey. Also for Birmingham, and I had a quick look myself at other regional LawTech or LegalTech meetups, and I put it this way, I didn't come across them within a 5-minute search or so. And if it takes longer than 5 minutes, I'm not interested at all.
No, exactly.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, after that. Yeah, if you type in Cardiff Legal Tech, you'll get one or two things that are held at the offices of Eversheds or something like that. And you type in Birmingham, you might find occasion, but it's not the same kind of event. So, for people in those areas, put on your own shows and then send us an invitation, and we'll be glad to come along.
Yeah, and so as we said, the next event is going to be during the Bristol Technology Festival, where there's a load of stuff going on throughout Bristol. I think all sorts of different events and people talking and everything like that. So have a look on their website as well and look for that as well. It's an event that, again, I hadn't heard a huge amount about. So, and it's just nice for these things to be happening somewhere else other than the major metropolitan areas. It's nice to get out to Bristol and things. And as you say, coming here from Bath, Birmingham, London is fairly easy anyway. So
yeah, we'll have to do a Bath session soon. I mean, every time I talk to anybody who's not from Bristol, like, Bristol's really lovely, and which it is. Bath's pretty good too. I like it. So hopefully they'll run one at a Bath firm or wherever in the near future. Good cities to come and see.
Yeah, exactly. Loads of stuff. So should we go on to the last thing that we got to talk on? Again, this was a slightly. I think it was from April this year, so a slightly older article, but something that we came across and something that we found quite interesting. I don't know whether you want to...
I'll run through it. So this is from The Guardian, and it's the author is Abby Young-Powell, and her surname is Young-Powell. The title is More Universities Are Teaching LawTech, but is it just a gimmick? So hold the question in mind. Is it just a gimmick? Because I've got an answer. I'm sure everyone will have their own answer, but we'll come to the answer later. So the first couple of things are statements from the article before we get on to the actual question itself. So it says, last month, which presumably is March time, the Estonian Ministry of Justice caused shockwaves when it announced robot judges could soon replace humans in small claims courts. Okay, Otto Velsberg, the country's top data officer, has been asked to get started on design. We should be talking to Otto then, I suppose, shouldn't we, about that? And,
building some robot judges.
Do you think they actually physically have to build the robot itself?
I don't know. I mean, someone's got to sit up there with a wig and thing, so it might as well be a robot. We'll give it a
a go. Would be quite funny. Yeah. So presumably by robot judges they mean a platform that will make a decision for you.
AI,
some AI solution. But if they do make robot judges, I really want to see that.
Yeah,
we can get one
Terminator-style judges or something. I don't know.
We could have it as a guest.
Yeah.
They obviously have to have an arm to swing a gavel. If it's a proper
that's
one.
Right.
Mind you, I suppose if it's just for small claims, it's probably
maybe
not important.
No.
Now I've lost my place now, Pete. I have to keep waffling. Right, law is often seen as a stuffy profession. Over the past 3 years, there's been an increase in LawTech, which refers to the use of technology such as AI, big data, and machine learning to provide legal services. The usual reference there to AI and machine learning. Eager to be ahead of the curve, a number of universities have started offering specialist modules on the subject. Keyword modules. That's a hint to my answer.
Try to remain impartial here.
Yes, but is it all just a load of hype? So this is there are a couple of quotes in here. Do we want to take through which is the first one? Learning to think critically. This is John Haskell, who's a senior lecturer at University of Manchester. Learning to think critically about potential problems is big. LawTech isn't a magic bullet. Universities shouldn't rush to get onto the tech bandwagon for the sake of it, or just to improve student recruitment and branding. We've used that kind of phraseology before ourselves. We've also said ourselves about thinking bigger, about the solutions that you implement and how you design them and so forth. I mean, I think we've probably been guilty ourselves sometimes of thinking, let's just design this and build this. And actually, when we've stepped back and thought, well, actually, no, that's not what we want to build.
Yeah.
I guess you apply the same logic to your university business of offering courses to students and saying, well, how do we want to offer it and what does it look like?
Yeah.
Another quote, Katrina Denvere, who's a senior lecturer at Monash University and former director of the Legal Innovation Centre at Ulster University.
She's got some interesting things to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what the article quotes. There is plenty of bandwagon jumping going on, which comes into LawTech. All too often, technology is seen as the answer when we don't know what the question is. Yeah,
which I think we discussed maybe in the last episode or so, and what we've been talking about in the legal project management side of things, where, rather than seeing all this fancy legal tech out there and the adverts for it and talking to all these suppliers who will happily sell you some AI solutions and stuff, before you go down that route, stop, look at your business and look at the processes within your business first to see how they can be streamlined, what you're actually doing in all these areas, get a handle on that kind of thing before you then look at solutions that may help in those areas.
I agree. That was, I think, the first stint that we did on legal project management. We quoted Mark Lassiter, who's based over in Arizona. He said something along those lines. The article at the beginning was from Freshfields, who said we're going to send out secondees to go and collect a load of information on how we can work better with customers. That is fact finding, and most secondments are a minimum of 6 months. So I don't think people should be frightened, even if their job title is innovation expert. Now, I'm not saying you don't deliver anything in 6 months, but your delivery could be a report which says, actually, we were going about it in the wrong way, or it might be unpopular, but we need to consider all these types of things, or at least just fact finding before you go in and make a huge change. I think there's plenty of scope to say, I don't know what the answer is at the moment. We better find out before we launch into something. Anyway, continuing on with Katrina Denvier's quotes. Nearly every chatbot developed to help people with legal problems seems to be an elaborate marketing tool for an entrepreneur looking for financial backing to do something else. Well, I don't think I could say anything myself. We've got a chatbot, though, Pete, but ours is not designed, and it's not a do not pay kind of bot that is out there for wide commercial use by anyone, by any means.
It was definitely designed as a marketing gimmick.
Well, absolutely.
Or maybe we shouldn't say that. But no, it's true, because you do see a lot of like you mentioned there, the do not pay things for getting off parking tickets and stuff. There are a lot of those kind of things popping up now, and we've talked about how these things can be useful, and how you can use them for things like FAQs and stuff like that. So we're not saying that a chatbot is just a gimmick.
No.
These things are being used in lots of stuff now. I mean, digital assistants are being used in phones all over the place and things like that. But there's a couple of things which are just a quick, simple product to do something, because you don't really have any other product behind it. So you want to generate some money to go and build something else rather than starting from a firmer ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be cynical about these things, isn't it? And say, that is just a gimmick. And I don't necessarily think that people design it with gimmick in mind. It's probably just the first thing they build. So it might appear like a gimmick. But I also don't think you can blame people for doing it, because Silicon Valley and that sort of approach to investment is there's just cash around to be had, and sometimes it's silly money to be had. Where they will pay for a gimmick, or they'll pay for eyeballs on a solution. And if you can raise money on a gimmick and then get extra eyeballs on it, then all of a sudden you've got this this marketing platform that you can start using. But actually, if you think about it in a slightly bigger picture, the do not pay thing, there's no reason why that couldn't be adapted to be used for lots of other types of, maybe consumer goods claims and all kinds of different things. I mean, the
GDPR things. In fact, there was someone at the Bristol and Bath Tech who had an app to for people to do GDPR claims and stuff like that. So exactly, those kind of things can be used for it.
Yeah. So I think, although it might seem a little bit cynical like that, and I don't disagree with what she's saying. There's those things will be phase one, perhaps, of something bigger. Hopefully. But if you're looking at those solutions, I guess you have to have that in the back of your mind, mightn't you? That somebody might build something, cash in, sell it, and off they go. Yeah.
I mean, as you say, we've looked at integrating a chatbot into the platform that we're building, but again, that didn't come as the first step. I.e., we didn't think we're going to build a chatbot. What can it do for us? What we've done is we've been building our platform, and then said, actually, the way we're building it with the the concepts of integration and the easy APIs to access stuff, you could quite easily plug a chatbot into this to get key bits of information quickly. So the platform comes first, and then actually the chatbot comes as another idea out of that. How can we leverage the power of the platform? Well, we can attach a chatbot to it. Well, we can do even AR, or augmented reality things with HoloLens and stuff we've looked into. All of that kind of stuff, because we've built a platform that can give out information easily. I think that's, what she's saying there is, these people are just starting with a chatbot as an idea to then look at building something else. Why not start with that bigger thing first that you can use a chatbot with? Although as you quite rightly pointed out, that's not always the easiest way to get money. And in some of the reports that we've had in previous weeks, those pointed out to the point that if you don't list AI as something that your product does, you don't get any funding.
Not interested.
So it's a difficult. It's that difficult chicken and egg situation, isn't it?
It is, but that is designed, isn't it? The AI stuff or the chatbot stuff, where you're really using those tag words for something. That whole thing is geared towards fast cash, basically, but the people who invest in those things are also interested in fast exits, by and large, because they might put in 100,000 or 500,000 or something, and they're expecting to cash out 10 times probably within 3 or 4 years, maybe shorter. I mean, that's not our area, but you do hear these stories, don't you? People, venture capitalists, they put money in. If it doesn't happen, they put money into 10 things, expecting probably 8 of them to fail, 1 to sit there and do nothing special, and then 1 to really take off. So that one's got to pay for all the others. So it's probably 20 times rather than 10. So everything is short-term gain, and not necessarily built long-term with the future in mind. Now, we're lucky in that respect because we aren't beholden to what anybody else says. We can develop what we want in our own pace. So we're doing it in what we would say is the right way. Proof will be in the pudding, I guess.
Who knows? Remains to be seen. But it's interesting. But one of the last quotes on here, which I think was an interesting thing as well that came out of this, and before we actually touch on a bit about the university courses and things like that, there was a quote in here as well that this is from Nimrod Kanan, head of policy and profile at the Law Centres Network, which defends the legal rights of people who can't afford a lawyer, where he's saying actually he believes that LawTech is currently an incomplete solution when it comes to helping people access services. And the reason being is that, in 2018, there were still 5.3 million adults in the UK who were digitally excluded because they lack internet access or have low levels of digital literacy, including people from low-income groups, older people, and those living in rural communities. And, as someone who, has Wi-Fi through the house, has, Amazon Alexas, Sonos, has, smart TVs, and has an always-on lifestyle, and has, every device is connected to the internet. Even 2019 now, there are still people who don't use it at all, don't use the internet, who are... we've been looking at this big push into legal tech and how great that will be for people, and how you'll be able to access stuff through social media and chatbots, making it easy to do things. And yet, for some of those people who could crucially need those services and could really do with that kind of help, they can't get access to that because they don't have that. They don't have any access to the internet at all. So it's an interesting thing to talk about, that we talk a lot about legal tech, and there's some people through that is shut off from completely.
Well, I mean, I as you know, I've only just recently had my broadband line upgraded. I'm closer to a big town than you are. I'm still countryside, I suppose, but I'm only 1.1 miles, I think, from the edge of a big town, and there was virtually no broadband down where I was. It was really hopeless, so hopeless that if it rained and Netflix was on, Netflix turned off, or it buffered for 5 minutes, and that's just hopeless. And if you had the television on, you couldn't then be using your laptop as well, or computer. It was awful. One device at a time. Now it's much better.
But. So it's something to people to be aware of. We espouse the benefits of legal tech, but for some people that is still out outside of their scope.
Just thinking that through a minute, because that was access to justice. Let me run. We haven't talked about this before, but it's come to me now. If you've got do not pay as a sort of legal advocate for you, and if Estonia creates a whole load of robot judges, there isn't much room left for the people, is there? You're going to have robot lawyers, robot judges, and the robot lawyers will be both claimant and defendant, or whatever the right phraseology is for litigation now, or plaintiff if you're in America. There'll be no room left for the people.
Yeah, you got your app talking to a robot judge and things like that. This sounds like a brighter world, doesn't it? Eliminate the lawyers and the judges and everything. It
sounds like a
terrible world.
I mean, I can't imagine. Plus, what happens if they use the same algorithms, or I don't know how they would work these things, but
I mean, you raise an interesting point. If you link in all these kind of things together, you have the situation whereby you can post a claim and get an immediate response from a robot judge back saying no, or something like that. So it cuts out a huge amount of red tape. So it's interesting.
I don't suppose you would, in those circumstances, actually have the do not pay thing working, would you? You just go straight to the judge who would make a decision based on the facts, but you wouldn't necessarily have 2 or 3 systems. Maybe you do, I don't know.
Maybe you do. If they put good APIs and integration into their robot judges, we could easily tap into them to give you immediate responses.
There we are. The future.
Maybe it's the future. Yeah, interesting. But I mean, I know you had some thoughts on... Well, so we talked a lot around it, and their thoughts on technology and jumping on the bandwagon. But I mean, I know you've looked at a couple of courses, haven't you? And
so the question at the beginning again was, more universities are teaching LawTech, but is it just a gimmick? And based on the information that I have seen, my answer is yes. And I say that, and I'm saying yes. And that's because of the content that the universities have at least made available publicly. I'm not going to say anything about who they are, of course, but you cannot, in my view, take what is a commercial law master's degree, which has contract law, employment, whatever. You put a whole load of corporate modules in there, all of which are core to the thing, and you give people a couple of electives, and the elective, one of which is an introduction to artificial intelligence. That, to me, does not a LawTech master's maketh. One elective module or one module on a technology thing, which may not even be relevant to the subject matter, does not mean that it's a LawTech master's degree. As far as I'm concerned, if you're branding it as a LawTech master's degree, the whole focus should be on how technology works in law,
or at least more than a single
thing. Yeah. So I remain cynical until a university can send me a syllabus with a more detailed and structured approach. Not only to, I'm not talking necessarily, master's degrees still can be largely academic, so I don't have a problem with that as such. But if it's going to be taken up by people who are in the industry and working in it, you're going to have to make it more vocational and say, this is how it works, this is how it operates, this is how LawTech operates in the business of law, and why it's needed. And I think that's severely lacking from what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, so it just, so from what you've seen and stuff, it's more of a LawTech, and LegalTech is a cool buzzword now. Yeah. As long as we can get that into the name of the course, we'll get more people on there.
Yeah, a bit like AI is the buzzword. So
we're beholden to these things, aren't they? That you have these new buzzwords, so you just have to shoehorn them into whatever thing you're doing, so that you get the people coming to you, so that you get the people investing in you.
Well, exactly. I don't blame the universities for doing it, because they are ultimately running a business, and it's an education business. So the more variety of course you can offer, the better. But it feels to me a bit like offering a car with the difference between climate control and just air conditioning, and saying they're a completely different car. Well, not really. It's the same car.
It's just a small part of it.
Yeah.
So I guess these things are going to improve in the future as this becomes more widespread. But
and also there are probably very few people who are genuinely authoritative enough to be able to teach a module on it.
We got to remember that the legal tech and law tech sort of environment and industry is still quite new. It's a burgeoning industry, so you've got to wait for that to filter through as well.
So we're available.
Always available to teach teach courses and things like that. It's, in all fairness, it's something that we've been looking at with some others to see if we can do some specific legal tech training and things like that in how these new technologies can be used, and demystifying some of them for lawyers as well. And it's a useful thing.
Yeah, and with some genuine examples. I mean, we had in episode 9, we had the Q&A. Okay, it was a chatbot, but it's a Q&A maker, and the whole purpose of that is to start to show and demonstrate the technology behind the business and the way that's working, but also the more exciting bit for me, which I keep saying, is what that can lead to then, and it's the sort of automated onboarding of your client process and your engagement process with your clients and customers. That's LawTech as far as I'm concerned, and it isn't necessarily just specific to legal, but it could be used in any industry. But technology that actually helps deliver legal services faster is LawTech, and that is way more useful and interesting for me than some AI buzzword thing that doesn't work out of the box. Yeah. Anyway,
so we got a couple of events to finish up with. I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll run through them quickly. One is on Tuesday, the 8th of October. That's this Tuesday coming. This is a Microsoft event which they are doing, or it's VM running it with Microsoft.
So it's a webinar, so it's easy
it's a webinar
and stuff
so
like that.
It's an hour from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Modernising data management in the legal sector. And bearing in mind we talk a lot about data, that seems like a pretty good event to me. Item number 2, a business leader's guide using tech to empower the professional services. That is also a Microsoft event, but this one I think is not a webinar. That's Tuesday.
Where is it? Is it in? Is it in Bristol or Bath or?
I don't think so.
No, it appears to be in London. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's actually at Microsoft's building, so that could be interesting.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
2 Kingdom Street in London, but that's a shame. We have to try and persuade them to come to Bristol.
Yeah.
Tuesday the 12th of November, 8:30 till 12, and then the last event or events which we want to plug because we'll be there.
Yeah.
6th of November in Vienna and the 27th of November in Zurich, LegalTech mission to Austria and Switzerland. These are events being put on by the Department for International Trade, I think, and
the British Embassy in Austria or in Vienna.
So 6th of November, 27th of November, as they will be there. So what more reason do you need?
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky enough to be invited to these events to show at those, and it's taking out there to the Austrian markets and the Switzerland markets, the legal markets there, and just showing some of the legal tech firms that the UK has to offer. So there'll be a nice mixture of people there, I think, and it should be a good event to. I mean, we tried not to get political in this episode until the 6th of November. I'm not sure how we're going to travel on the 6th of November, whether we'll be stuck behind the borders here. I don't know yet, but we'll have to wait and see.
I think they'll be happy for us to leave.
Maybe.
Whether Europe will be happy to have us in, we don't know.
No, luckily I've sorted out my passport before then, so I've got that all in hand just in case.
The irritating thing is you've probably just spent £100 upgrading your passport with it. It still probably has an EU logo on the front of it, doesn't it?
I think that. No, I think there is a difference.
Okay.
It used to say United Kingdom and Northern Ireland and European Union on there. It no longer says European Union on the passport.
Bit presumptive, isn't it?
So I was a bit disappointed in that. But hey ho, I managed to sneak it in before I don't know what happens, but
we don't know, do we?
But again, it's going to be great to see. Hopefully talk to some legal firms and some lawyers and people like that out in Austria and Switzerland, and just see what the markets are like there as well, as far as legal tech is concerned.
Definitely.
And what people are looking at, where they think these things can be used, and that's going to be a really interesting thing to go to. And we give some more info on that as it gets closer to the time.
Absolutely, and we've got links to the events which we can put on the notes.
Yeah, we'll put links on all the things.
So that's it.
Apart from that, hopefully, I mean, the next time we see people should hopefully be for the Legal Geek conference. So again, come and get your freebie pins and say hello, and we'd love to talk to a few of you, and hopefully we'll be able to, as I say, we're hoping to do a show that comes not live from there, but with footage all filmed from the event and stuff, talking to people.
Indeed.
So look out for that one that comes up next.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So if you want to be on the Panachecast, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
that's one of the ways to do it.
Come and flag us down there. We'll be happy to talk and meet up with everyone.
We'll both be branded at that, by the way. So we'll have our proper Panache Software T-shirts on. So both this week we haven't bothered.
No, we haven't bothered this week. Mine's in the wash. It's fine.
Haven't been told off on marketing enough recently.
No, but yeah. So come and say hi, and we'd love to talk to more people. But So until then, and hopefully see you all then.
See you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.